Have you ever wondered what it's like to leave the US for your career and work abroad? Well, we got an interview all the way from Dubai. This is the Inside Guys, and I'm David.
I'm Wale.
Stay tuned for this one.
Hey Dave, how you doing, man?
Doing good, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, I know it's been a minute. I know I've been really busy over the past couple of months. What about you?
Yeah, it's the life of the sales. It's Q4 for me, so it's a lot of things going on trying to close out the year, but it's all good stuff.
Awesome. Glad to hear that. Well, I am. This interview is the one I'm probably the most excited about because we got the trio back. I mean, we're interviewing someone today that you and I know better than anyone else we've interviewed in the past. This is our brother. I can't wait to get into this.
Delay is in the house.
Yeah. So this is our guy. I mean, we have so many stories. We started our careers together, if you really think about it, and we've done so much stuff together. And so I'm really excited. This is one we've been thinking about for a while. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'm gonna kick it off with questions. So Delay, we're gonna get into your background in a bit, but tell us a little bit about who you are, tell us about where you are, and also tell us about what you currently do.
All right, great to see you guys. It's been a minute. I miss all the good old days that we've had, and I'm glad that everybody's doing well right now. So this is really good to be with you guys. My name is Dele Akinshade. I'm based in Dubai. I work for Microsoft Engineering. I'm a senior director for cloud expansion. So basically, the Microsoft Cloud expansion within Middle East and Africa. So I cover our new regions in Saudi, Qatar, UAE, South Africa, and the rest of the whole area. I've been in Dubai now for a little over 4 years. It's been great, especially with work, with the progress that we're making with our expansion work. There's a lot more to do here as the region continues to grow economically. So it's definitely good to be a part of this, especially in the Middle East and also some of the things that we're doing in Africa. I miss you guys, but I'm ready to have a discussion with you guys around what's been happening over the past few years.
That's great
Nice.
to hear, man.
Yeah.
Great to see you. Miss you as well. I know we got to hang out in DC when you visited here 2 months ago, I think it was. So that was awesome to see
Yeah,
you so long.
yeah,
Yeah, we've been all over the world with this guy. You think
Yeah,
about the trips on the
yeah,
other side of the globe.
yeah.
Yeah, all over the place.
It's the truth when we say we were really the trio. We did a lot of stuff together. A lot of people didn't realize a lot of the things we did, a lot of the trips we took on Microsoft's behalf in different parts of the
hmm
world. We
Yeah.
kept it tight, and it was great to do those. Lots of memories. Let me ask you one more question before I kick it over to Dave to continue. So, um, you mentioned you've been in Dubai for 4 years. A lot of people are wondering what's life like out in Dubai. Tell us
Yeah.
about the building behind you. Tell us about life in Dubai because I think a lot of people Dubai's on the map. People know about Dubai, but tell us from your perspective what it's like.
So let me take it a couple of ways. So professionally, it's been great. Is It's been very busy, very hectic, because a lot of the things that we're trying to do here are relatively new, right? So a couple of my projects were like the first cloud instance by a major OEM in Africa when I worked on the South Africa launch, and the first one by Microsoft in the Middle East when we did UAE. So lots of work professionally around that, and because Dubai is basically a hub, a commercial hub, a lot of activities are going on here with regards to technology, with regards to finance. So professionally is exploding from a growth perspective. I'm very busy when it comes to work. Now, on the social side of things, there's so much to do here from a social standpoint, mainly because of the geographic location of Dubai itself. irrespective to the rest of the area. So India is couple of hours away, Africa is next door, Europe is next door. So from a social standpoint, and getting to see life differently, how other people live, which was kind of the thing that kind of bonded the three of us. If you think about it, 20 years ago, to just understand how things are done, how other people relate, it's been great. So I do miss the U.S., but I'm also learning a lot from here. As you know, UAE is 90% expats, so most of us are all from different places. I mean, Dubai, as I said, is 90% expats. So it's a country of about 10 million people. Approximately 90% of that is expats, so people from different parts of the world. The 4 years I've been here, I've met people pretty much from every country on the planet. I've experienced different cuisines from different countries. I work with a lot of people from different countries. Some of the customers that I meet are from different places. So we get to bond and engage that way because everybody's trying to learn from each other. So it's been very interesting that way. But is it the weather is great. This is actually the best time of the year. That's why I'm outdoors, a little bit breezy. So it's really good to be here.
Let me
It's
ask you,
also yeah.
Delay, from an
So
African American standpoint, what was it like landing in Dubai and just getting acclimated to that culture? You think you go back when you and how long have you been in Dubai?
So I've been here 4 years. I came right in the middle of COVID, and
Mm,
there is the African American community is quite large here, but very
okay.
private. Um, I've met, I mean, we have our community here because there's a lot of, well, I won't say a lot, but there's US military presence here. So you
Okay.
have African Americans in that particular sector. You have a lot of African Americans that are in the education sector as teachers or lecturers in universities. And then you get to meet a lot of African Americans that come here on vacation. They come on vacation multiple times. Maybe after the first time they've come, they like it, so they come back with their friends and family. So you get to meet them quite frequently. So it's not, and then you have some that have lived there for years, 10 years plus,
Mm,
who have settled, probably met people, gotten married, and decided to settle here. So you see that with other people from other countries as well, that have kind of made this place a home. And then you also have some that are transient in that they've gone across to different Middle East countries, so Saudi, Qatar, Bahrain,
mm.
and UAE. So you have those as well.
so your first trip there, though, I think your first trip was when you visited me when I was living there. So
Yeah.
what was your did you what was your first impression when at that time, and did you ever foresee yourself because you moved there much later after that, did you ever foresee yourself moving there based on that first impression?
Mm,
No, no. When I first came here, when you were here, I believe that was 2007 December. Um, so I had no intentions of living here. It looked very different from what it is now, like night and day. But I will always come here for business because at that time I was based in Nigeria. And pretty much every quarter or so, I will come here for meetings. But when I came, it was just business. I'm in my hotel, go to the office, hotel, go to the office. No, very little socializing. So I had even when I moved there 4 years ago. Prior to that, I didn't think that I wanted to live here, and mostly because I never gave it a chance to explore the city. I just came in
mm.
for business purposes. But looking at it now, it's great. It's a great place to live. It's a great place to work, and it's great.
All thumbs up. So let me switch over to the professional side. I know we have a lot of viewers who are just getting into technology or starting their career. So when you think about what is a cloud data center, which is in your area of responsibility, tell me exactly what is that to a person who may not be familiar with that term.
So pretty much everything that we do nowadays is run by the cloud. So a cloud is essentially a computer that processes information that's staying in somebody's location, somebody else's location. So even this podcast that we're recording is running on the cloud. So what we do, or what I do, and others, is the actual infrastructure that makes this happen. So the buildings, the networking, the cooling, etc. We're responsible for making sure that that infrastructure is built in a particular region, so that the processing, the availability of data can be spread out. We have a data center infrastructure that's global, so it can be spread out across the world. So I'm responsible for. I work with a team that's responsible for evaluating what markets to go into, and if decisions are made based on that, then we then go into those markets and make sure we build the data center infrastructure to align with what we have globally. So the data centers that we build in Africa or the Middle East is exactly the same that we have in the US or Europe, and serves the same type of services and capabilities.
Right. Why is it
Yeah.
important to have a data center in Africa, in that region? I know you talked about you were responsible for the expansion of the data center. So why is that even important? Why can't it just be in the Europe or US, or tell us a little bit about that?
So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's physics, right? People have a better experience the closer they are, in some cases, to the data that they're accessing. So, if I'm in South Africa, which is at the bottom tip of Africa, and we have these resources, say in Europe or in the US, even though there are pipes, network pipes, and subsea cables, etc., is still the experience is not going to be as conducive for them as it should be, as opposed to somebody that's close by, because some of these transactions that may need to occur may need to be done within milliseconds, and there's no way that type of traffic can travel across if data center infrastructures are far apart. And also, there are other reasons like data sovereignty reasons, as to why some of these infrastructures need to be built in country. Some
Yeah.
people, from a regulatory standpoint, certain types of information cannot leave the borders of a country or a region. So there are many factors that dictate that. So that's why not only Microsoft, but our competitors, Amazon, Google, they're all on this expansion journey to meet the
Yeah.
requirements of the customers.
You mentioned
Gotcha.
Africa as well. Sorry, not South Africa. You mentioned Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and I think you already finished the UAE data centers. So the next expansions you're working on are Saudi Arabia and Qatar. Is that correct, or are there other countries we're expanding into?
No, I mean, Qatar is live. So Qatar was done a couple of years ago. That was done. Um, that was done for the World Cup. So that's done. Saudi Arabia, we made the announcement a little over a year ago, as to our plans there. So that's in our roadmap for it to be delivered. So those are the ones. And then we also have in Israel. I forget to bring that up. We have a data center region in Israel as well. So we have 3 that are live in the Middle East, 1 in Africa, and we have 1 that was announced as in the roadmap for the Middle East. That's the one in Saudi.
Okay.
Oh, and we also have 1 in the roadmap for Africa as well, that was announced in Kenya.
In Kenya. Okay, cool. So you have a lot of travel ahead of you, sounds like.
Yeah, there's a lot of work. I mean, travel is not as much as before because everything now is done virtually, just like we're doing this podcast. So we're able to accomplish a lot remotely, but occasionally there might be reasons to visit, and we do that as well. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Well, I know, well, you want to get into how this man got
Yeah.
started.
Yeah.
And one of our key things on this channel is building a network. So I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, so we so far talked about where you are today and what you do today, but let's go a little bit back in time to, I guess, around the time that we all first got to know each other. So talk about how you started your career. Tell us about that initial career journey into this technology space. And so give us that background.
So, I mean, in tech space, my journey started probably about 25 years ago or so. Actually, I take that back, about 28 years ago, in DC. I was, started as a PC tech, very young, just gotten married. I think I just had my daughter at the time. But I was very, very inquisitive. I was very, very ambitious, and was never satisfied. So I just wanted to keep learning and keep moving up the ladder. Eventually, it got me to where we met, um, which is one of the first cloud providers, if you think about it. US Internet Working, they were the first company to do hosted exchange, which is what people call Office 365 now. We were doing that back then with Exchange 5.5. And I was very, very green at that point, very, very curious um, um, with the technology. Active Directory came soon afterwards, and then we started to engage a lot with Microsoft personnel who were on site. They were quite interested in what we were doing, and we also leveraged them for support for some of the things that we were doing. And with me always being inquisitive and always talking to people, I started to engage with you. You were our support person at the time, and that's how I got into Microsoft. And my first role at Microsoft was a consultant, and with Microsoft Consulting Services at the time. And the technology areas that I was focused on were directory services and messaging collaboration directory services. So Windows 2000 was relatively new at the time. Exchange 2000 was relatively new at the time. And I did that gig for a couple of years, getting restless. There's this new product that came out called Live Communication Server. An email went out. They're
Live
looking for
communicate. You're
people.
going way back. Live communication
Yeah,
server.
yeah.
Yeah. I haven't
People,
heard that term in a long time.
yeah, I forget. Actually, it used to be called something else before that. I think maybe Office Communication Server or something like that. OCS and then LCS. Um, and they were looking for people to do readiness on it. And I was at home. I volunteered and added that to my portfolio
Hey,
as well.
Dele, let me
So
interrupt you just for a second. So
yeah.
just so the audience understands, you were a customer of Wole at Microsoft. While he was at Microsoft, and you were a customer. So you reached out to him and developed a network, even though it was two different companies, and that's how you came into Microsoft. I just want to highlight that point because I think that's pretty big.
Um, yeah. So Wale was what I was, I guess if you, Wale was was a vendor to us,
Okay,
and I was a customer. We hired Microsoft to provide us services, and Wale was our support manager at the time.
gotcha. Yeah.
I guess Wale may have seen in me that okay, this chap is a smart guy.
We need more
he'll
people like him.
yeah, and he talks to me about it. And keep in mind, this was during the .com era. It was during that era. It was 1999 to 2000. So Y2K was a big deal at the time. And we're always communicating, engaging. Wale, and a bunch of other people. Gunnar, I think Gunnar was also part of the team,
Yeah,
right?
Gunnar was well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and
Nice.
A lot of folks involved, and I think also what we realized is that we had some mutual friends. 6 degrees of separation. In DC. I think I knew your cousins. I'd worked with one of your cousins previous to my time at Microsoft.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those 6 degrees of
yeah,
separation moments.
Nice.
yeah, and actually, before you joined Microsoft, a lot of people that worked in the company that you worked at, Wang, I also worked with before I joined Microsoft. So like Mike Cotton, for instance, you remember him, who eventually joined Microsoft as well. So the tech community is also quite small, but networking is very, very essential. That is
Yeah.
how all of this got started. Yeah.
Nice. All right. So yeah, go ahead. You pick up. You were getting ready. You were getting tired of your Microsoft
Yeah,
consulting gig.
yeah, and I was getting a little bit bored with it, and then I moved on to to join the big boys, where the guys that were making money in the sales organization. So I became a technical salesperson. I
Let,
think
let, let-
Wale had actually become that as well.
yeah, yeah, I did. I had it at the time. So let me. So Dave and I, we have spent most of our careers in technology sales, and that's kind of how we originally started this channel.
Yeah.
We recognize that a lot of people out there didn't understand that working in technology companies, there's this whole set of opportunities in technology sales. A lot of people think to work for a tech company, you need to be a developer or program manager, product manager. So talk about your transition. You'd always been like the technical implementer, both before you came to Microsoft. Your first role at Microsoft was in technical implementation in our services organization. Talk about what that transition was for you into technology sales. Like, explain that in your own words.
Yeah. So I never. So I mean, like I said, I was getting a little bit bored with the consulting gig and just needed something else to do. I don't think I quite fully realized what was involved in sales. Um, I just I just knew tech, but I didn't know how to convince people as to why they should, go a certain way when it comes to technology. I was just more like, this is the solution. This is how it gets done. And I think my first presentation to a customer, I remember this vividly, was to a law firm. Um, I could see the account manager in the background freaking out. After my presentation, I get a call by my manager at the time,
Uh-oh.
and called me in that I shouldn't be too direct and too forward with because they will ask me a question if something can be done. I'll just say no, it can't be done. Uh, you know, um, so the subtle art of selling, I didn't have those skills at all. So I had to learn that. And once I got to learn that, because I was very comfortable speaking publicly, right? But from a technology standpoint. But
Just the
if you're a
facts. You used to
salesperson,
just the
yeah,
facts.
just
No,
yeah,
no romancing of this
no, no,
technology.
no,
Just
no, no,
okay.
no. That wasn't my. I wasn't able to do that, but I had to learn that. Being I guess back in those days, TSP, technology solution specialist or something, whatever the acronym is. So I had to learn that, but I was very comfortable because I was doing it in the messaging and collaboration space. So Exchange, live communication server, to some extent SharePoint, to some extent back then MMS, Microsoft Management Server. So it wasn't that easy or natural for me to move into that space. But I believe now, I mean, I'm glad that I did it because I think I'm much better at doing that. And for my looking at my career, I really haven't done any of that since from a strong technology standpoint. I've done marketing. Who would have thought I'll be a marketing guy, from being a consultant, but I've been able to do that. So yeah, that's how I was able to swing it. So it wasn't easy. I had to learn. I had to get coached. I was very open to learning and very open to getting coaching, and that helped out a lot.
One thing I'll say that I picked up from you is that those skills that you learn once you transition into sales, they really convey. Tell me if you agree with this. They convey well into other things you do. The presentation skills, understanding customers,
Mhm.
objection handling, being able to at a moment's notice, when you hear an objection from someone that you may not expect, knowing how to deal with that. I think, would
Yeah.
you say that even in what you do today, which isn't a sales role, that conveys into that? So those experiences that you gain in technology sales, I think, are super valuable.
Oh yeah, they are valuable, and I use that even till today. I still talk to customers till today, because they want to know things from a very big picture standpoint as to what we're doing as relates to cloud. How is that going to be impacted by AI? and GPUs and all of that stuff. So you still need to, in my role now, I'm more of a big picture guy. I don't need to get into the details. So it's about selling the vision, making sure that people understand from a Microsoft standpoint and technology, where things are going, and be able to articulate the strategy that we have to enable the customers to achieve their objectives.
Yeah. I mean, so you think about you said build your network because you went from getting a call from your manager saying, "Hey, what are you doing?" to now you're painting strategic visions, right, for global data centers. So think about a story maybe that you chose where you chose a mentor, where you chose someone to help you. Say you were open to feedback and open to help to get you there. Can you think of a situation where you either approach someone or someone approached you that really help you move your skills forward and really improve in that area?
I mean, there have been a few people throughout my time at Microsoft. So I've been with Microsoft now for 23 years. I've
Wow.
had many
You grew up
mentors
at Microsoft.
along the way. Yeah, I was thinking about it this morning that almost half of my life have been with the company. Um,
Yeah.
so I thought about it this morning that, oh, damn, I had a couple of my kids who are now college grads, working at the company. So the company has been very good to me. I have to admit that. But I've had many mentors along the way, and basically they've helped me in a couple of areas. So one has to do with, okay, what are you passionate about? I'm passionate, and this is how my journey started. With us three and traveling. It's about um, making sure that technology has impact to the less developed parts of the world. So we wanted to see the world. We traveled to Asia. We traveled to Africa, to the Middle East, and my passion developed during that time that I want to be able to do stuff in Africa. So guys that mentored me along the ways. Some of them are still with the company and execs at Microsoft. Some have left. We still communicate and keep track as to the things that we need to do. And we've been able to be persuasive enough to convince the company to make investments in Africa. So, and then along the way as well, I mean, some of our senior leadership team folks have actually advised us and mentored us on our approach.
When you say our
You
senior
know,
leadership team, are you able to be specific? Like, because I don't want you to just sweep this under the rug. Like what you did, really tell that story around what you did uh, in your own personal time. If we're keeping it real around getting the company to invest in
Mhm.
Africa, can you tell that full picture?
so, I mean, the Nigerian in me, and I think the Nigerian in everybody, whenever we're in a situation or in a place, we try to compare, right? That, okay, this is in Nigeria or this is not in Nigeria. We always have that comparison. This is in Africa, this is not in Africa. And the fact that I started my career at Microsoft, um, working in the US, I had no idea of what to expect when I moved to Africa. But when I did move to Africa, it now basically cemented what needed to be done in my head. That, okay, there's a lot of opportunity here. There's a lot of talent here, and Africa is essentially the future. 50, 100 years from now is going to be Africa is going to be an Africa situation, because if you look at the various the data points that are out there, um, and and then I started to collaborate with a few people within Microsoft, from Abolade, who's in the Windows team, to Bambo, to Chris Luanga, and a few others, to kind of like build a story as to what we need to do from an investment perspective in Microsoft. So we didn't even start off as an engineering center. We're just looking for a few people from an engineering standpoint to tap into the talent pool that is in Africa. But as we started to dig deeper, we realized that this is actually something that could be that is actually much bigger. And it helped because of the experience that I had in the ground. So I had worked in Africa for about 9 years at the time. And the roles that I had in Africa, one of the roles I had, which is the best role that I've had being with the company, was as an evangelist, responsible for our ecosystem. So I engage with startups, I engage with students, I engage with developers, IT pros, ISVs across the continent. So I was able to see the potential that was there. And then working with the guys in Redmond that I mentioned earlier, we were able to put a case together as to Microsoft investing in an engineering center where we can get engineers locally to work on products, just like we do in India, in China, in Vancouver, and in Europe, in various other places in Europe. And some of the advice that we got along the way were from SLT members.
So you
Who
you said SLT. People know and may not know who that is. So
Okay,
explain who that is.
so
What you mean?
the senior leadership team within Microsoft, those are essentially
Oh,
people that report to Satya, Satya Nadella, the CEO of the company. So we were able to get the ears of Brad Smith, Kurt DeBelnay, who has since left. We were able to get an exec sponsor, Phil Spencer, who runs Xbox. We got a pep talk. Chris and I got a pep talk from Amy Hood. And
Oh, of
during that
Microsoft.
pep talk, yeah, she's the CFO. During that pep talk, we got to find out from her that she actually, I think, after college, she backpacked across Africa. So we were able to get that tidbit of information. And a lot of, some of the SLT members do come to Africa on their own private time. And they also see this as well. And of course, everybody knows about the interest that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has on the continent. So Bill Gates, we were able to meet with him as well during this whole process. So we were able to convince the company to make that investment 5 years ago, approximately, I think in August of 2019. That dream became a reality where two engineering centers were opened, one in Lagos, Nigeria, and one in Nairobi, Kenya. Earlier this year, the one in Lagos was shut down. So we basically have increased our focus on the engineering center in Kenya. So that has grown a lot, where we have hundreds of engineers there. And the hope is that that continues to grow. And then in the future, maybe this could be something that grows into other countries as well. Because it's the top there, the work is there, and we strongly believe in that. So this was something, as you said, Wale, it was like a side gig for all of us at the time, because myself, Abolade, Bambo, Hoop Suma, and a few others, it wasn't our day job. It was just something that we were passionate about. We put a plan together. We were able to present to pretty much every member of the senior leadership team one-on-one, and we got it approved.
So what I'm like, one thing that I'll say is that I heard from you, and Dave and I have said this before. It sounds like you were able to merge a personal passion of yours with work. Because I've talked to some folks who I mentor around how you can do that, how from our experience, we did that. We were able to find things that we like or that we're personally passionate about. Like in our case, we love when we were early in our careers, we were all passionate about traveling internationally and learning about new places. We found a way to get the company to send us all around the world for free. We had to do presentations, and we worked ourselves into international events. But it's, to me, a way that we were able to merge that personal passion with our career. And you did the same thing. You were personally passionate about technology investments in Africa, and you took it upon yourself with the other group of people who you named, and you just made it happen. So I love to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you another example. I just came back from Kenya 2 days ago. I was invited to speak at an event in Naivasha. And this came about based on the work that I used to do when I was ecosystem lead, right? So a lot of the things that we did back then, it is still impactful. So a lot of the startups, a couple of the startups who are now unicorns, the founders were people that we were mentoring when they were in college, and
Wow.
they've been able to set up companies. So one of them was actually in Dubai here a couple of weeks ago and recounted the stories that he remembers when he used to come to the Microsoft office when he was in college or when we went to their campus. So because of the current role that I have, I really haven't had the time to get back to that. Until recently, I was invited by some of the guys in Kenya that um, we need to have a session, and the name of the session was called "The Return of the OGs," right? So, so it was basically a
Wow.
panel where
Yeah.
we sat down and just talked about how we've seen the technology landscape change across the continent over the last 10 to 15 years, and where we see it going in the future. So I talked about my experiences coming to the continent in 2007, and what I found in 2007 compared to what is there today is completely different, and there's a lot more to happen. And based on that, we're like, you know what, we need to get this going again because now we have a different view of things. Some of the mistakes that were made, and then we can also learn from some of these startups who are now unicorns, doing very well because a lot of them are like, hey, we need to mentor these new startups that are coming up, as well. So all of that is from the days of us together
Mhm.
traveling, getting to meet people, talking about topics that we basically self-taught ourselves
Yep.
because of the passion that we had, and becoming experts at it. If I told you how I joined Microsoft as a consultant. Now I'm in the startup community and ecosystem community. I know a lot about venture capital investment and all of that stuff that when I first joined the company, this was not something that was even remotely on my agenda. So, and then through all of this, you get to make connections. You get to network with people. There are VCs here in Dubai, and across the Middle East that you get to meet. They are looking for opportunities to get into Africa, for instance. And we've actually even had VCs come from the U.S. Like I met with the DC Chamber of Commerce. They were in Abu Dhabi a couple of years ago, also looking for investment opportunities in startups on the continent. So it's been quite a journey so far, and it's great.
Nice. You went from, so you started your career, you were in Washington, D.C. area, and I know you took a role in Seattle, and then from Seattle you went to Dubai. Is that correct?
No, so yeah, I'm a DMV guy. So from the DMV, I went to Nigeria about 9 years.
Okay.
Go Washington Commanders, even though your Cowboys beat us over the this past weekend. So we'll get to
I
that
wasn't gonna
later.
bring it up, but since you did, go Cowboys. I wore my blue today.
um, I see that. I see that. So yeah, so I was in Nigeria for 9 years, and then moved to Seattle from Nigeria, to go work in engineering. So my current role, I moved there in 2016. Um, Again, I'll get into the, but working in Seattle is actually great, fantastic. You're basically close to everything, power. So when I mentioned earlier, being able to engage with SLT members, it was because I was in Seattle. Um,
Okay.
you know, I can easily walk into people's offices, and be able to have conversations with them. And then from Seattle, in 2020, I came here to Dubai.
I got you. So
Yeah.
you really broke out of your shell, right? Because you said you were a DMV guy. So to go across the country, to go across the pond, you were expanding and learning about different opportunities within the company. You didn't look just within your team or your org. You really were learning about all the different things and possibilities throughout the company. And that's encouraging to people, right? To understand what your company does and look for different areas that may be outside of your immediate area where you
Yep.
could grow and expand your knowledge and expand your impact on the company.
Yeah. So so that's one thing with the company, right? And one thing that helped us, and I don't think they do that today. Wale and David, back in our day, When you join the company, you go to Seattle for a week
Right.
for, I think it used to be called Microsoft 101
I
or
think
something
that's right. Yeah.
like that. Yeah, I don't think that is being done anymore. So you can have people that have worked in the company for 10, 15 years who've never been to Redmond,
Never been to
right?
headquarters. Yeah.
They've never been to headquarters. The onboarding process is different now.
Yeah.
So back in those days, part of the onboarding process is that soon after you join, there's usually a period of time you get to go to Redmond. There's a whole set of activities that are set up for you,
Yeah.
and then obviously with the employee resource groups, the ERGs, you're able to connect with them. So there's the Blacks of Microsoft groups. There's the Africans of Microsoft group. I think for Wale and I, we knew a lot of people in the Nigerians of Microsoft group, and they were
Mhm.
very active. And these are guys that
Yeah.
have been with the company for a very long time. And you just talk to them about, 5, 10 years from now, this is what I hope to do or where I hope to be, and keep connecting with them. And this is actually how I came to Seattle. I wanted to come back to the US. I was in Nigeria at the time. I reached out to my network in Redmond that I'm looking for roles in Redmond at the time. I didn't want to go back to DC. I wanted to go to headquarters. I gave them a criteria as to the type of jobs that I was looking at, and I guess luckily for me, an engineering group was looking for somebody that had Azure experience, who has experience working in Africa and working in the US,
Who
right?
could that be?
And I'm like,
Yeah. Perfect.
so my hand was up, and it fit like a glove because what they were looking for and the insights I was able to bring about the market was very, very helpful to the team.
Nice.
So without that networking, I would never will have known of such opportunities. I probably would have gone back to DC and done something else. And this was me coming from marketing to engineering. Okay. And it's not like I have to, I know how to code. So when we say engineering, engineering doesn't necessarily mean that, you're a software dev guy
Right.
or anything like that. I know enough about those. That's within engineering, there are different groups within engineering. Yes, there are software dev guys, there are data scientists, there are all of those, but there are also lots of program managers who engage with these technical people. And my role that I found was basically the sweet spot where I engage with engineering and I also still engage with customers as well.
All right. So just to be clear, rewind, you went from consulting to sales to marketing to engineering. Is there anything left?
So I went from consulting to sales, back to consulting,
Okay.
and then to sales again, and then to evangelism, and then to marketing, and then to engineering.
Wow. Yeah, that's even more complex than
Yeah,
I had put
Well,
together.
well
Yeah.
rounded, well rounded. I
yeah,
mean, so you
Yeah.
you really took a tour of the company across lots of different key disciplines within the company, which to me tells me that definitely enriched you, and I'm
Right.
yeah,
sure
Yeah.
you're still benefiting from all those different insights and perspectives that you gained across all those different parts of the company that you worked in, all those different roles you worked in. So
Yeah.
yeah,
to me, that's kind of the way to go, is as opposed to that's my personal opinion, as opposed to staying in one lane the whole time. To me, like just getting that, taking yourself out of your comfort zone. Both you did it both in terms of sort of different lanes in your career, but also obviously across different geographic locations. That is really that's where growth happens. And so I love
Yeah.
to hear how you did that.
yeah.
Yeah. That's
I mean,
awesome.
people ask me how I've lasted this long in the company. Definitely, yeah, definitely. If I was doing the same thing for 23 years, I would
Yeah,
have been
Yeah.
gone long time ago, right?
yeah,
So
Yeah.
I tell people I've had probably close to 10 different jobs
that's
within
right.
the 23 years.
Yeah,
And like you said, Wale, I've lived in 4 different places during that period. So DC, Seattle, Lagos, Nigeria, and now Dubai. So that mix have actually kind of helped. Now, what's the future? I'm sure I'm probably going to do another role. Maybe I'll live somewhere else. I don't know. From a family standpoint, my kids are all grown, so that's not something that's really tying me down at the moment. But I think for me, looking at the future is just making sure that we continue to have impact, especially in Africa. That's what I'm passionate about. When I look at, I don't know, Wale, 10 years or maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whenever you saw an Azure presentation, and there's this particular slide that has where we all have our Azure regions,
Hmm.
and you look at the Middle East and Africa, it was always dark. There was
Right,
nothing there,
right,
right?
right.
So now we have five, right?
Nice.
So whenever I see that slide, and I think Scott Guthrie presented had it at Ignite last week, that always just makes me happy. That
Yeah,
okay,
you
I'm
were
glad
part of
I
that.
was a part of that. Yeah,
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 that's
yep,
awesome.
Nice.
That's awesome. Impact experiences. That's awesome, man.
yep, yep.
Well, Willie, I think it's time to wrap up. I've
Yeah,
enjoyed this. Delay, appreciate your time and the
yeah.
journey. Actually, I learned a couple things. I've known you for over 20 years. But this has been awesome.
This
That's
is
awesome.
this is
Yeah.
this is fun. I mean, like we said at the outset of this interview, this is personal for us because we go way back, like literally. We were like the trio, and we did lots of stuff together.
We followed you. We followed you, Wale. You were the first one to get on the
Leave the
plane.
country. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I mean, it was always fun. I never wanted to do anything solo. You know what I mean? I always wanted to do it with like my trusted companions who all of like mind. And so that's what made it fun to do a lot of the stuff that we did together. And so this interview has been a long time coming in talking to you. And so
Yeah.
I'm glad you're having a great experience over there in Dubai. I got to get over there and visit you and see how you're living over there as well.
Yeah. That'd be awesome. Yeah. Looking forward to
Yeah. I
catching up with
mean,
you again, Delay.
yeah, we need to figure out a way to get back together, whether it's in the U.S. or Dubai or wherever, one of
Yeah.
these
Yep.
days. I mean, I have pictures of us. I think from 2007, right before I left, there was no gray anywhere. Nobody had any gray, right?
Yes,
I
you gotta
mean,
share those
we
pictures, man. We might put them in this episode.
Yeah. Pop
yeah,
up on the
we
screen.
should. Yeah, and now and I've gone bald. I used to have dreadlocks at one point.
I
So
remember
there's
that.
been
Yeah.
lots of changes. There's been lots of changes that we need to catch up definitely.
For
Yeah. That'd
sure.
be good. They're too long.
Yeah,
Yep.
Well, guys,
yeah,
thank you
it's
for
been too
tuning
long.
in and watching this episode with Delay all the way from Dubai. We really appreciate your time.
Like
I'm
and
David.
subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Yes, and also in your comments, put down if you'd like to hear a little bit more about Delay's journey, what he's went through, and we'll comment and get those answers for you. And if you've made a similar journey of leaving the country, working abroad, happy to hear your experience and learn what you found was the best experience. But again, thank you. Look at that beautiful tower in the
What are
background.
we seeing in the background?
Yeah,
What
what
tell
is
us
that?
about what's in the background there?
So that's Burj Khalifa. They normally do a light show, I think every 15 minutes. So it's 7:15 p.m. local time.
That's the
People do
tallest building in the
advertisements
world,
on this.
right? That's the tallest building in the
Yeah,
world still, right?
Oh,
yeah,
sweet.
that's the tallest building in the world. Um,
Wow.
People do advertisements. We've had people do proposals and put it up there.
Oh
Would
wow.
you marry me?
Wow.
Sometimes during certain countries' independence, they'll put the flag of the country up there.
Mhm.
There's a fountain show down there. There are probably hundreds of people down below it watching it.
Wow.
So yeah,
It's a
that's
unique
Dubai for you.
city. Yeah, that's a unique
Yeah,
city.
very very unique, very unique,
Yeah,
very
Yeah.
good
unique.
deal. All right,
Thank
stay
you
tuned.
guys.
Thank you guys. Talk to you soon.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
All right, take care, guys. All right, bye bye.